Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Live from Chaifetz Arena, I'm Matthew Rocchio, and this is the Billikens Central Postgame presented by our good friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, where the crown is yours and my home bank. Bank. An insane night at Chaifetz Arena. Not your usual Tuesday night in St. Louis, that's for sure. A 79-76 win for the Billikens, and they have just attained the greatest start in program history through the first 21 games. They have never started a season 20-1. That is now no longer a fact. The 20-1 Billikens surviving just a wild game tonight. At one point they were down by 15 with 3 minutes left to go in the first half against GW. Some wild theatrics and a very lucky line drive shot from Quentin Jones made it a 10-point game. So it was a double-digit deficit at half. Billikens have only been down 5, or I believe it was 5 was their largest conference deficit coming into this game. So they're down double that going into half, and it could have been much worse than that. Down by 15 at different times, 14, 12. Just an insane game for the Billikens the entire first half. And really a large chunk of the second half. And by the way, I shall say this, the Billikens had a tough day shooting, 37 from the field in the first half. They eventually finished at 44. Also some tough days for some players out here. Quentin Jones goes 2 for 12. Amari McCautry 1 for 4. And Deion Brown 1 for 3. Right now in front of me, you can't see him because I'm on your screen. Both Deion Brown and Amari McCautry are out here shooting shots right now, getting shots up. Zach Bover, the assistant coach, is happy. Shirts right now is talking to our good friends Rammer and Earl. One of them will be joining us here later on this Billikens Central postgame on STL Sports Central. Just a wild night from the Billikens night. Jump into the chat if you have anything to talk about. There was a lot of things to talk about. The officiating, the game from Robbie when he finally plays 30 minutes. Trey Green being the only thing they had for the early game and getting them through. Kellen Thames somehow always being a trump card that Josh Schertz can play at opportune moments to change the game. Every time he left the game today, Billikens struggled. Every time he came back onto the floor, good things happened to the Billikens. Heck, at one point he came in as a sub, and GW missed their first free throw in like 28 minutes. I mean, even when he's not actually getting the ball in his hands, Kellen Thames, even when he's not affecting the play, he can't. It's a free throw. Kellen Thames is making good things happen. Corey Land jumps here early into the chat. What a game. What a win. But I feel like our three-point percentage was better than our free throw percentage tonight. Clean that up. But man, that was fun. It didn't even out that way. It comes down to 39% from deep and 50% from the stripe. But that is a huge thing that I know that Josh Schertz is going to be talking about. They were great from the free throw line to start. You know, after all those years of Travis Ford, and heck, even last year, there was a lot of struggles from the charity stripe. Billikens were hitting their free throws to start this season, and yet this season they certainly have not been hitting their free throws, especially here late, and that's been a little bit worrisome. Tonight, it was definitely worrisome. They went 2 of 6 from the stripe in the first half. They went 9 of 16 in the second half. 9 of 16 still not good enough in the second half. If GW doesn't start off 0 for 6, they only missed 7 free throws, and they started off 0 for 6. Just insane that they went. I mean, they went 14 of their next 15. That's insane. They missed a crucial one when they needed to late in the game, and the Billikens were able to kind of storm back and take it. Yeah, not a great game from the Billikens shooting-wise, but split up into 2 halves. Tale of 2 halves, obviously. Billikens in the second half, 54% from the field, 54% from 3, and 56% from the charity stripe. Still not nearly good enough from the stripe, but you'll take 54% from 3. That was the big one. And a huge part of that, 7 of 13 from deep, a huge part of that in the second half was 3 of 4 from Robbie Avila. And we will talk plenty about Robbie Avila. I plan to save at least some of that until Rammer and Earl joins us here on the Billikens Central postgame. Right now, you can join us on the Billikens Central postgame by jumping into the chat. Corey Land says this offense is never out of any game. Yeah, the offense looked really rough at times. And we talked about this on STL Sports Central earlier today. We talked about this on KLIS with Cam and Jim. This is the perfect matchup. Curry Hicks Sage, who knows more about basketball than I probably ever will, was talking about why GW is that GW was the perfect lineup. And then when you look at their lineup, of course they're the perfect lineup. They got multiple 6'7" to 6'10" athletes. They have shooters, and they have guards who are longer than they are tall. That's what you need for the Billikens. That way you can switch as much as you want. You don't ever get in really bad mismatches. Even when you get a bad mismatch, like Trey Green versus Rafael Castro, Green tries to take Castro to the bucket. I don't know why, but Castro swatted that shit away pretty easily because Castro can run with guards. That's what makes GW so dangerous. It's why GW was the perfect matchup against the Billikens, and yet somehow we're here talking about a Billikens victory. Eggplant emoji says, Rock, a month ago you said Mizzou had a better shot at going to the dance over SLU due to being in the SEC. Do you still stand by that? Eggplant emojis, I need you to check the timestamp on that one because I cannot imagine that I was saying that right before Christmas. I might have said that in November because of how weak the non-con was for SLU and so you would wonder, can they? But I mean, if they win 29 games, that's not going to matter. And they were looking like a wagon out of the gate. So a month. I got to disagree with you a little bit, and I'd be shocked if I said that. And if I said that, I was wrong, and I was a fool, and we should make fun of me for that. Babe Truth 921 says, Green and Avila were the leaders. I still think Thames is huge below the waist. Babe Truth 1921, bringing the truth here. What have you there, Babe Truth? I'll let you have that moment. All we know is that Kellen Thames is huge when it comes to this Billikens lineup. Kellen Thames aligned tonight, 15 points off the bench, but for him, it's never about the actual just flat numbers. A lot of the things that are going to matter for Kellen Thames is the efficiency. He's not out there for a ton of minutes. Tonight he played 24-30, and he had to play every minute. Schertz was just talking about last week, I believe it was last week to the day. Can they get to 25 minutes for Kellen Thames? They got to 24-30 today. They needed every single second from Kellen Thames. 15 points on 7 of 9 from the floor. He could have had more, but he struggled from the charity stripe. Goes 1 for 5 from there. Also chips in 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and picks up a big steal as well. He was easily best in plus minus for the Billikens today, or he was behind Ashan Sharma, excuse me. He goes plus 11, Ashan Sharma goes plus 13. But if you're watching it at all, Ashan Sharma did struggle a little bit tonight, especially on the defensive end, got called for a fair amount of fouls as well. But Kellen Thames, undeniably huge. Green and Avila, big games as well. Let's talk about that big game from Robbie Avila, and how we talk about that big game from Robbie Avila is going to get us to talking about our good friends over at My Home Bank. This Billikens Central Postgame is brought to you by our business banking partners at Home Bank. From business lending to everyday banking, Home Bank has been with us since day one as a trusted partner. Business isn't just about numbers, it's about relationships, and with Home Bank, those relationships make all the difference. Home Bank is the team behind our team at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.bank or call 855-577-2001. Home Bank, member FDIC. More than a bank, they're your business banking partner. And they, of course, bring us the money moment of the game. It's going to be hard to lean in exactly on what a money moment of the game here is, but I'm going to go with Kellen Thames. The Billikens are down 61-55. Kellen Thames comes in and immediately gets back-to-back layups, squeezed in between. There was an Ishan Sharma trip to the foul line where he went uncharacteristic for the Billikens tonight, 2 for 2. But a layup from Thames, Sharma goes to the line, another layup from Thames, and then Thames hits his only free throw of the night. 5 points from Kellen Thames when the Billikens were down 6. It kept them there. The biggest part of that second half was they constantly couldn't break through this 5, 6, 7-point cap that GW had seemed to enforce on the game. But Kellen Thames layups, Kellen Thames constantly driving, that finally broke through that little gap. It got him to a 4-5-point game. And from there, we saw Trey and Robbie Avila do what they do from the starting lineup, which is take over this game. Trey Green finishes with 23, Robbie Avila with 22. Our money moment of the game, Billikens down by 6. Kellen Thames comes up with 5 points in a couple of quick succession possessions, and that changes this game in favor of the SLU Billikens. Just an insane win overall. Billikens win 79-76. A couple more shots here. We got Babe Truth 921 says Rammer. They're finishing up with Josh Schertz. He's going to go talk to the media. I'm going to sit here and talk to you guys for a little bit longer, and then we will be joined by Bob Ramsey and or Earl Austin on the other side. Corey Landis said, sorry, looks like the Blues just lost in the final 6-7 seconds again. Thank God we have the Billikens right now. And also, the Missouri Tigers get shellacked by Alabama. They barely show up for the second half of that game. And so what I thought might be a big night for the local basketball teams almost turned into a bad night for the Billikens, for the local basketball teams. As the Missouri Tigers were getting beaten up, it still looked like the Billikens were going to just let this one completely fall away. I mean, nothing more demoralizing that I've seen this entire Billikens season, because it's a rough start. It's out of the gate. It's an athletic team that you're not used to playing, and you're struggling a lot. But then you're down 8-9 early. They get one 10-0 run against you. This is the second 10-0 run against the Billikens the entire season. You say, hey, we get it to 21-21. We're feeling good. This game, we've seen this script a little bit at different times in the SLU schedule. where can we, get our bite of the apple at this game? 21-21. And a 14-2, or it might have been 16-2, excuse me, a 16-2 run by GW, I thought it was over at that point. They take it from a 21-21 tie after the Billikens give everything they had, still shooting like crap from the field. The Billikens give everything they have, make it a 21-21 game. Blink, and it's 37-24. You think the Billikens are done after that run. That's 2 10-0 runs in the same half. That's the new stat we've been talking about on the show. The journalists around shirts have been talking about it as well. The kill shot. What happens when you have a 10-0 run go against you? Billikens had one against them this entire season. It was when the backups were in against GCU. Fast forward to tonight. Opening salvos of the game. 10-0 run, second kill shot ever. And then later on in the first half, another kill shot by George Washington. They're called kill shots for a reason, because statistically, if you get one of those in a game, if you get multiple of those in a game, you win more games by the numbers. So the fact that they take 2 kill shots, 10-0 runs, and are still down just 10. I tweeted out it would have been a blessing to be down single digits. Thankfully, that Q 3-pointer that he banks in from 30 feet, does bank in and makes it a 10-point game. So 2 kill shots in the first half. They could have been down by a gazillion. They're down by just 10, and then they come back fighting. And I tell you what, it still looked pretty precarious. Till about the 12-minute mark, I would say, of the second half is when you started feeling that, okay, the Billikens offense is starting to generate good looks. We're starting to make things happen. The biggest issue, though, and this is why they struggled so much in the first half, is I don't know if there's been a Billikens game this season where they just couldn't get everybody going. A lot of people scored, but Ishan Sharma only had 2 points at half, only finished with 4 points. Paul Otieno only gets 2 points and struggled at different points in his 15 minutes on the floor. Deion Brown with 2 points, and Amari McCautry with 3 points. I mean, the fact that they had 4 players between 2 and 4 points, that was a little unexpected thing. So the Billikens can't get their offense going. They can't beat you by the sum of their parts in the first half. So what do they have to do across this entire game? Well, it's Trey Green, at times playing a little hero ball, but man, playing it well. He finishes with 23 points, 8 of 15. Honestly, might be one of the higher field goal amounts we've seen this entire season. At the same time, Quentin Jones goes 2 for 12. He had an off night tonight, but 23 for Trey Green on 8 of 15, and of course 6 of 10 on those 3-pointers. And I mean, that was the Billikens' entire offense to start the game. He had 6 early points on 2 threes. Kellen Thames came off the bench and gave them 6 early points. And at that point, they had 12 of the Billikens, like 20 points. And so eventually in the second half, the Billikens just had to keep on leaning on Kellen Thames anytime he was in there, Trey Green at different times to come up with shots, and then something we've talked about game after game after game. When they need him, can Robbie Avila take over games like we saw him do last year at times on a team that wasn't as good, or we saw him do 2 years ago on a very good Indiana State team? Can Robbie take over when he has to take over to win a game? The answer is yes. I know there's some people out there who probably said we didn't need to see the answer. We know that answer. But there's some people who doubted that because of his minutes going down. Because his minutes are down, his numbers are all down. But as I talked about on Friday night when I was joined by Ashley here on the postgame show, if you extrapolate Robbie's numbers to 40 possessions or 40 minutes, into 100 possessions, he's the exact same counting stats as last year, like 27 and 5. His assists are better per possession and per minute than they were last year. And he's more efficient, more assists, less turnovers, and he's shooting the ball like crazy. He comes out tonight and he's 0 for 3 from deep. And you're thinking this might be a rough night for Robbie. And yet he finishes the night an incredible 4 for 8, which means he hit 4 of his last 5 threes, including 2 in back-to-back and 2 in some of the final possessions to win this game for the Billikens. It was a clutch play, and the Billikens needed it. Looks like I might be joined by one of the voices of the Billikens here in a moment, so let's get some of the legalese out of the way. That's our good friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, where the crown is yours. It's the NFL playoffs, so let's go. It's DraftKings Sportsbook, an official betting partner of the NFL, where it makes every moment feel bigger. In the postseason, the game shifts fast, and with DraftKings live betting options, you can stay right in the moment, make every moment matter this NFL postseason with DraftKings. Of course, we have the big game coming up. It's the Patriots and the Seahawks. Right now, I'm early on just some passing yards props. Sam Darnold, Drake May, combine those two, go for about 220 and 225. And I think that's a good little promo. They're both minus with those numbers, but you put them together, you get a nice little like plus 150, 160, depending on how things are shifting on the 2-leg parlay. Plus, DraftKings has your extended for early exit protection. God forbid we lose a quarterback in the first half of the big game, but if a player in your eligible NFL prop goes down at any point in the first half, you still get paid in cash. With DraftKings, you're covered throughout the entire half. Why bet player props anywhere else? New customers, here's your shot. Bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports to earn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
And we are back here on the Billikens Central Postgame, and I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend. That is Bob Ramsey. And one heck of a game you got to call tonight. The Billikens down by 15 at one point in the first half. They come back a wild back-and-forth second half, and they win this 179-76.
Some unbelievable moments in the game. While the Billikens were struggling, Trey Green basically kept him in it by himself. He had a couple of shots, one in the first half, one in the second, where it looked like he was throwing it up to the ceiling, the high arch. But that's because George Washington was coming out there trying to block everything. They were really, really good.
4 for Castro.
And he changed. I don't think that's a fair number. He dominated the game.
Yes.
Castro was unbelievable. He's such a great player. So I want to tip my cap to them. And Coach Schertz in our radio postgame talked about Chris Caputo, their head coach, taking pride in and having great ability and countering whatever you try to do. So it was a great chess match between two really good coaches, especially as the Billikens closed in on the second half. And it looked like when the Bills got up 7, okay, now we're going to win it. But GW said, no, we got something to say about that. And so this was a great battle between two really good teams.
Castro had something to say the entire night. 12 points, 18 rebounds. Like I said, we said 4 block shots. He also had an assist and 3 steals. So 3 steals, 4 block shots. Easily changed twice as many possessions as that, if not more.
Yeah.
He was incredible. And the Billikens really had to go to something we haven't seen. It's been, strength in numbers every game. But tonight it was Kellen off the bench. Automatic, it seemed like every time he touched the floor. Trey, like you said, throughout the entire game. And then really Robbie, after that 0 for 3 start from deep, he locked in and obviously put together his best game of the season.
It's hard to really prove any of these kind of weird, maybe emotional concepts. Mm-hmm. But I kind of felt like he was already making the comeback. But when Josh put Robbie on Castro, it's almost like Robbie said, okay, I got to take over, and took his game to the next level defensively, and it seemed like it powered his offensive game. And he really did take over, late in the second half.
Speaking of late in the second half, the offense, I mean, obviously GW is still bringing all the pressure, but the offense found a way. It was never, I would never describe it as crispness, but they started moving the ball more. It stopped sticking. And honestly, what seemed like to me was just, to your point, there was a confidence factor. And it seemed like in the first half, players were scared to drive. Players were worried about turning the ball over. People were bobbling everything going to them.
Yeah.
It just seemed like the second half, it was kind of a do or die mentality. And they said, okay, we kind of screwing around. At this point, we either do this or fail. And they did it.
Yeah. And 2 big plays in the second half. 2 assists by Kellen Thames, both the same kind of play. I'm going to drive, which he does. Everyone knows he's the best in the league. They're going to collapse. And then I'm going to find the trailer, and we all know who that is, Robbie Avila. He did it twice, a late 3, and then the game-winning 3.
Kind of insane when you think about it, that, because Caputo and Schertz are going back-to-back.
Yeah.
It is kind of insane that the Kellen Thames drive still opened up that pick and pop
Yep.
from Robbie. But that tells you how much, despite just 15 points, despite just 25 minutes, despite coming off the bench, it tells you how much gravity Kellen Thames has. And as soon as he dipped his shoulder and drove, every single eye in a GW jersey went to number 0.
They had to.
And that meant that Robbie was more open than he ever should be in that situation.
Well, and the other part of that is probably most folks don't know that Kellen played point guard in high school. Mm-hmm. And late in the game,
Yes.
Josh put him in charge of bringing the ball up, not because he's going to be Yuri Collins, but because they have to honor his drives. Now, he's already got the ball in his hands. He doesn't have to work to get it. Now, he can survey and see. And along with being a point guard, it's not just ball handling, it's not just passing, it's vision. And he was able to find the open man multiple times.
Says a lot about this team. They set the another program
20
milestone,
20 and 1.
First time they've ever won 20 of the first 21. They set that record. Obviously, there's a lot going on in this game, but it does say a lot to me that as you're talking to Shirts, Amari and Dion, who both did not have great games, are already out here getting up extra shots immediately after the
As soon as the crowd went out, those two guys were out shooting, and that just shows that this means a lot to these guys, and they don't accept playing bad easily. They just don't.
Friday night, Dayton comes in. They just lost to Rhodey tonight in
overtime.
Game. They're kind of reeling after a couple of tough games. It's obviously SLU Dayton. It's always going to be an incredible game. They're always going to give you their best game. But they are going to be absolutely just voracious for a victory against the Billikens on Friday.
And Earl pointed out, forget the things you just said. Dayton will just they'll look at this as our season here. Not that it actually is. Not even at the where are we? Just at the halfway point of the league, but that they'll come ready to play and they'll bring it everything. And Earl talked about even beating them at their place, but they always shoot well here, it seems like. And it will be a battle.
Let's get to a couple of these chats and then we'll wrap up here because Rammer's had a very, very taxing night. It was a wild game. Yeah, they need to figure out the free throws. They will sink them big time against big teams. That was an issue last year. It was not an issue early on, but has crept up to issue tonight.
Conference play, they've struggled. But tonight, so did GW. So we just said, we're not even mentioning it. Throw free throw shooting for both teams out the window.
GW 0 for 6 to start, but then they finished 14 of 21. Talk about a team locking in after a really bad. The one they missed was pretty crucial, but
yeah,
they locked in. They locked in at times, and that was pretty impressive. All right, that's going to do it for us. It has been a wild night here at Chaifetz. I know that some of you who were watching on ESPN Plus didn't get to see the final couple minutes, so I would say,
really,
yeah, apparently it cut out.
Well, thank you for listening. I
was going to say, for those who are listening over on the Mighty Mox 104.1 and 1120 a.m., you got to hear the final call by the best in the business. That is the voice of the Billikens, Bob Ramsey. Of course, he was with Earl Austin, as he always is. Billikens are back in action on Friday night against Dayton. Before this game tipped off, there were 6 tickets left on sale. I have a feeling those have been snapped up, so try your luck. And if not, get ready to watch an insane game. It's going to be packed here tonight. We will be here around on the sidelines talking about the game in the Billikens Central postgame. Thank you again, Rammer.
You bet, buddy.
Billikens win again, 79-76. They are 20-1 for the Billikens postgame. I'm Matthew Rocchio. That is Bob Ramsey. Have a great night, St. Louis.